So hello everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the brand new series where I try every single game from a studio. But here's the twist, I only play each game for 1 hour. Because let's be real, if a game doesn't hook you in the first hour, are you really gonna come back to it? Since I'm already deep into Summoner's Greed, we are starting off with Pixio, a studio known for addictive ideal games and cute visuals. After playing each game for an hour, I'll rate them on gameplay, storyline, and visuals, and at the end of the video, I'll rank them in a tier list and decide which ones are worth sticking with and which ones fall flat. So let's get into Pixio's universe and find out if their games live up to the hype. And now, without wasting any more time, the first Pixio game is going to be Art Inc. Pixio's very own museum tycoon game, where you collect different arts by either bidding for them or discovering them through expeditions, where expedition is kind of passive, but bidding in an auction was fun. I basically had to determine whether the art was real or fake and then bid on it. In my 1 hour of playing, I managed to buy all of the arts from the first collection, but due to my single hour of playing, as well as not getting any offline income, I failed to get my hands on Birthday Boy's Blessy with my 266k money, while other people just kept on flexing their money on me. And that's the whole gameplay. You open the game, collect money which was generated when you were AFK, spend it on bidding and upgrading, and close the game and repeat. So actual long playable stuff is extremely limited, which makes the game not at all engaging for a long run, unless you are absolute Pixio freak. In storyline aspect, we inherit the museum from our Uncle Warren Buffalo, whom you will see a lot in Pixio games, but the inheritance did not go as planned, as a thief named Silver Fox steals our most valuable art of Mona Lisa and burns down the museum, so we have to restart the museum business and also find all of our arts back which Silver Fox has hidden across the world. So in terms of storyline, which includes being engaging, original and related to other Pixio games, I give this one a 4 out of 10, especially keeping in mind that it has multiple characters from other Pixio games like Mythicals from Summoner's Greed and the dog from Tap Billionir game. Then lastly, visually the game is not that bad. Its artwork is classic Pixio cute chibi characters, and rest of the stuff is also very smooth and fits well for this game. So visual wise, I'll give it a 5 out of 10, taking its total to 12 out of 30. Then the second game that I tried was sequel to the museum game, being Ideal Art Inc., where some mysterious person poisoned our Uncle Warren Buffalo, the same guy from the first game who gave us his museum, and the whole story revolved around us finding the person who did that. The basic way of the story progression was by completing main quests, and as we kept on doing that, we got more and more cutscenes. The mystery just kept on becoming more and more difficult to understand. I reached till chapter 4, and with the help of an amazing detective, we managed to catch Silver Fox, the thief from the last game, but he kind of seems innocent to my instincts, so storyline was definitely more engaging than the last time, so much so that I am tempted to play again just to figure out what happens next. So it deserves no less than 7 out of 10. But gameplay wise, I enjoyed Art Inc. more. It was challenging and bidding depended on our money, while in Ideal Museum they have lowered the difficulty of finding the real art, while bidding was also happening out of the 2000 random gold, which never changed as long as I played. And we never seemed to lose any auction. But the museum gameplay got a bit better, where we have to promote our arts to attract people. You can make stuff automatic with time, but it's still better. So in terms of gameplay, I'll give it a 3 out of 10 too. While visually I see no difference from the last game, there might be some differences, but for my 1 hour of playing, I did not notice any. So it also gets 5 out of 10 for visuals, taking its total to 15 out of 30. Then next game was going to be Ideal Mafia Empire, but Pixio has removed it from the Play Store, so it disqualifies by default. And next game was not any better either, and that being the Super Run Adventure, which for most of the first 20 minutes refused to open at all. I kept on trying to close and reopen it, but nothing happened. Eventually it opened, but only after 5 minutes of playing, it got stuck again. And by that point, I was totally done with this game, but I have played this game before, and it was a decent Super Mario knockoff, nothing too special. So in terms of all of the 3 parameters, I'll give it a 1 out of 10, taking its total to 3 out of 30. It could have been a lot more if the game had just worked. Then next game was Tap Billionir, Pixio's most basic and ironically grounded game, where we just had to tap and get a lot of gold. The classic character of Warren Buffalo again appeared in this game, and he is actually one of our investors who gets us through the entire intro and leaves some quests for us. But I found random playing to be more fun than doing them. There is no exact engaging storyline, we just have to get richer and expand into different countries. So storyline wise, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. But gameplay was pretty tappy, where I for the most part used auto clicker to tap. You can make tapping better and better by increasing its level using books. Additionally, you can also invest in stocks and stuff, but main focus was on trades, which you would do with the help of your traders that you summon. And amongst these traders, we also have some known faces, most noticeably Summoner from Summoner's Greed, making these games way too interconnected, and I like that. So in terms of gameplay, it gets another 3 out of 10. It's not bad for that score, but just too limited and simple, especially without a strong storyline. And for its visual aspect, the game has a basic pixel style art, and you can only tap, you can't move or zoom in or zoom out the screen. So extremely basic visuals, but background music was really good. So in terms of visual aspect, I'll again give it a 3 out of 10, taking its total to 9 out of 30. Then next game was the Billionir Boss, successor to the last game and by far the best game in this video. Story wise, we start the game by getting yelled upon by our employer, but being frustrated beyond measure, we snap out and quit our job. And not just that, we also start a revolution and take half of our colleagues with us to start a new trading company. And we successfully managed to do that. And to my surprise, Warren Buffalo again showed up, this time through his secretary, and if we could make 1 million coins in 2 minutes, he would buy our company. And we managed to do that as well. And I went to sign the contract, but behind my back, our old boss took all of my friends hostage, and now I must make big cash to free them. So we start the grind in our new office. So storyline is engaging. I'll say these new games, be it Ideal Museum or Billionaire Boss, has amazing storylines, and this one literally feels like we are playing some high potential game. So in terms of storyline, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The gameplay is again quite tappy, but there is a feature called CEO trading, which I really enjoyed. Then buying stocks also feels more realistic, as it majorly impacts our portfolio, and our traders are also different from the last time and don't have a static chance of success. So in terms of gameplay, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. And then visually, this game is a major improvement on the last one. You can move around the screen, you can also zoom in and zoom out. There is also Pixio's headquarters there. Plus overall, it feels extremely smooth, even though it's still pixelated. But there is no background music in this game for now, so it gets another 5 out of 10, taking its total to 18 out of 30. I do think that Pixio employees are trying to convey us some message through this game, but we are too silly to understand it. Then next game that I played was What's Cooking, and this one was a basic cooking game where our character aspires to be the best chef, and a chef named Grade on Raisin sees our potential and allows us to learn under his guidance. As such, we get his challenges and we need to complete them to move to the next level. But there is no storyline as such, we just have to make dishes and finish challenges, so a 3 out of 10 in storyline aspect. Then gameplay is purely cooking, surprise surprise. Basically, we just mix 2 ingredients, put it in a pan or fryer or pot and let the dish cook. Different combos make different dishes, and that's how we progress through the game. Then we can also play a mini game to get ingredients, and it was definitely enjoyable and annoying at the same time. In between, we also had to give random tests to the big chef, so for my 1 hour it was definitely decent, taking its score to 4 out of 10. And then visually, the characters are clean, the interface is smooth, and background music is also good. In addition, we also get a pet dog whom we can pet and interact with. He also sometimes brings weird drinks which we can drink to get random buffs or nerfs, so visual wise I'll give it a 4 out of 10, taking its total to 11 out of 30. And then next game was Chef Smatching, kind of a sequel to What's Cooking but much different. Firstly, it's not just a cooking game but instead a match 3 one. We do the match 3 challenges and that helps us earn stars, and these stars can then be used to set up cool furniture and kitchen equipments. In my 1 hour of playing, I only cooked 2 dishes in total, rest of it was just me playing match 3 and refurnishing the kitchen. so gameplay wise, it was a decent 4 out of 10. But the storyline was the true gem, where we started the game by losing all of our fame that we had acquired in the last game, and standing hopeless on the road, we see a cat-like creature about to get crushed by a truck. Following our sense of kindness, we save the cat, but the cat opens up a portal and takes us to a weird place. After reaching there, the cat, who is actually a powerful creature named Lami, is extremely sad and angry on us that we did not let it eat its favorite burger. So under fear and pressure of Lami, we make a burger for it which Lami likes. Lami also has a great personality and helps us in setting up the whole kitchen. I did not see much of it after the cutscene and intro, but I am sure Lami will return after we refurnish the whole kitchen. So storyline wise, and my general liking for Lami, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And then visually, the game is really promising. Like I said, I already liked Lami's design. The world is also massive, where I could see multiple locations which are to be unlocked, and background music was also good. So visually, it gets a 6 out of 10, taking its total to 17 out of 30. I feel like Pixio should really add Lami to Summoner's Creed. It's such a fun character and concept. Then next game that I played was Tap Evil Mastermind. Funnily, a sequel to Tap Trillionaire, where we get fed up of our tapping life and embrace the evil, making Warren Buffalo our lifelong enemy in the process. We also join a new evil boss who helps us in learning the way of evil. Rest, gameplay, storyline and visuals are extremely similar to Tap Trillionaire, except that it is connected to an older game, making it a little more engaging. So I guess storyline wise, I'll have to give it a 4 out of 10, but rest 2 parameters will stay at 3 out of 10, taking its total to 10 out of 30, and I think this marks the end of Pixio's Tap games. So the next game that I played was Miis King, the kingdom simulator of Pixio, where the gameplay is quite engaging to say the least. You have to do a lot of clicking to send your hunters or builders to work. The core of the game is that you are the king and people work for you, so you control them and slowly expand your kingdom. But workers also get tired, and once that happens, you are kind of just staring at the screen until their energy refills, or you can also watch an ad for that. Then there is also a museum in the game where you can collect artifacts and they boost your overall gameplay. So in terms of gameplay, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Then the storyline was kind of weird, but good way of weird, where a group of people were worshipping a statue of a divine ruler, and out of nowhere, we fall right on that statue and its crown gets stuck on our head. And people saw that as divine sign and accepted us as their ruler. And now we must rule them good. So storyline is pretty basic in my opinion, so it gets a 5 out of 10. And then visually, the game is very colorful and filled with elements. The decorations over time start making our land clean, but there are simply way too many pop-ups all over the screen, which becomes overwhelming sometimes. So it will be better if Pixio makes them a little smaller. So in design aspect, I'll give it another 6 out of 10, taking its total to 17 out of 30. Then next game on my playlist was Ideal Magical Girls, the exact copy-paste of Ideal Mafia Empire, but instead of capos we have cute anime waifus. And gameplay is pretty ideal. Floor by floor we kill monsters and gain money, which a lift takes to the top, and then from there it gets to our bank. Well, you can say that it's a mining simulator with a new mask, but one good thing is that it's an online game and actually stores your data. So even if you reinstall it after months, you will still have your data safe with you. But rest, I liked Ideal Mafia Empire more. With this one, I feel like Pixio is just trying to get horny boys to play their games. So visually and gameplay wise, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. And storyline gets lost after opening the game, so it's endless grind that is left. So another 3 out of 10, taking its total to 9 out of 30. Then the next game that I played was Clash Crusade, Pixio's rising star and a battle simulator, where we summon and collect multiple units and take them to a battle and fight our way through different zones. The battles have different outcomes depending upon your placement and RNG, so it feels pretty unique and don't let you get bored. And then at the end of the zone you fight a big boss battle. The mechanics for that is fun, as your portrait mode game turns into landscape just for that game mode, which is kind of unique. But the game is still under early development, so I got stuck on level 1 of zone 2, The game just wouldn't go past the loading screen, and it stayed the same even when I tried to close and reopen it multiple times. But despite all that, in terms of gameplay, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Then story-wise, the game is kind of weak, where some weird goblins steal all of our gems, and the rest of the gameplay is just being kicked off as taking gems back. Again, I am sure Pixio will put some cooler story to the game, at least which stays consistent, but in this game, even though we earn gems by beating enemies, but it's never mentioned expressly again, even till the end of the game, so storyline gets a 3 out of 10. Then visually, the game is just like Miis King. It is interactive and even more refined, that it does not feel overwhelming, so it gets a 7 out of 10, taking its total to 16 out of 30. Then for the next game, we return to Pixio's horny ways, and the game in question was Survival Shooter. A Pixio knockoff for Survivor Adventure. It's quite basic and definitely not up to the mark of Survivor IO, but hey, testing what works and what not is part of business. And these type of games are definitely fun, so not bad. So in terms of gameplay, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. There is no storyline to the game, so another 3 out of 10. And visually the game is just like how most Survivor games are. But I'll give Pixio extra points for making thrust traps, so it gets a 5 out of 10, taking its total to 12 out of 30. Then next game that I played was Galaxy Shooter, where Pixio scratched the world of space shooting games. And the storyline is that we have to save different ships and shoot enemy ships. It's way too basic, and gameplay involves us sliding our ship to shoot enemies and dodge their attacks, and clear the waves. But visually, Pixio has again done their thing, and this time they have even added the jiggle physics, so a 3 out of 10 in gameplay and storyline, but a 4 out of 10 in terms of visuals, taking its total to 10 out of 30. Then the next game that I played was Pixio's crown jewel, being Summoner's Creed. The classic tower defense with the most original and unique concept I have ever seen. Like, I have never seen any tower defense game which is as good and engaging as Pixio's Summoner's Creed, at least at its size range. The gameplay, as you all know, involves us summoning for different monsters and placing them on one of the 9 empty slots, and these monsters attack the enemies who are trying to reach the chest which is placed on the end of the map. If you beat the enemies, you reach the next wave, and if you fail, you lose the chest. The game is quite tough though, so I could only reach till wave 30 after 1 hour of playing, but it was still good. Could be my nostalgia, but I liked it. So in terms of gameplay, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Then storyline reveals us to be a thief, and we steal King's chest, and angered by our actions, King orders his army to take that chest back from us, but we don't want to give up the chest. So we use our summoner powers and summon some cool monsters. And even though this game never follows up with any storyline after this, but chest always stays the main part of the game. But the game still fails to answer as to why even the non-king enemies want that chest. So in terms of storyline, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. And then for visuals, Summoner's Creed has a basic cartoonish theme, which functionally suits the game. It also has an amazing background music, but there is really not much that you can visually do for a game like Summoner's Creed. So in visual aspect, I'll give it a 5 out of 10, taking its total to 18 out of 30. Then lastly, I tried to play 2 Pixio games, being Rush DD and Plinko Party, but both of these games have their servers put to sleep or they are permanently gone, so I'll put them in the disqualified category along with Ideal Mafia Empire. So now coming to the final rankings of all of these Pixio games, then the 3 removed ones will go into the special removed tier. Then Super Run and Clash Crusade will go into the need fix tier, but eventually Super Run will move to average tier and Clash Crusade will go to top tier. Then coming to the bad tier, then it only has Ideal Magic Girl. And then coming to the average tier, and there we have Galaxy Shooter, Survival Shooter, Tap Evil, What's Cooking, Tap Trillionaire, Art Inc. and Chef Smatching. Then next we have the Good Ones class, which are kind of the best games from the studio, and there we have Miis King, Billionir Boss and Ideal Museum. And then in the top tier we have the Great Summoner's Creed, still holding the crown jewel. Maybe it's based or maybe it's biased, you can always try for yourself and find out what you like the most. Lastly, I was planning this video for long, and just like Pixio, I will make it for a lot of studios, so do let me know what improvements I need to make. I know per game clip was kind of short, But that's because there were just too many games from Pixio. But anyways, I hope you liked this video. Join the Discord server from the pinned comment. Thanks for watching. Just keep grinning and Aura is mine.